Okay, so here we go. So here is the pattern, Stars and Stripes Log Cabin Wall Hanging. If you did not get it, please go into the show notes. I will have a link below. And when you get in there, you're going to see there's going to be a small, it's not an error. I did this on purpose. But if you are a seasoned quilter, you're going to look at it and say, well, why is she making the strips 2 inches and the middle 2.5 inch? I'll explain that in a minute. Okay. Now, so when we were going over this last week, I opened up the jelly roll, and these were all the different things in there. Now I do have some other, let me just grab those real quick. These are the leftovers. I mean, they're really not leftovers, okay? They're really not leftovers. We're going to be using those. But what I wanted to do was go in and show you how I want to lay it out. Now, remember, the log cabin, you have to have a light side. So you have to have a light side and a dark side, and then the middle. So the middle is going to be the hearth, which is going to be right here. It is the red, okay? That is the heart of the home. And some people call it heart. Some people call it hearth. I call it the heart of the home. So we're going to use red for that. Then on one side, we're going to use white or the lighter colors. And on the other side, we're going to use the blue or the darker colors so that we have the red, white, and blue for the stars and stripes. Now, before I go any further, should you decide that you do not want to do this in red, white, and blue, you can use anything you want to use. You could, but as long as you've got lighter colors and darker colors, and then the middle, so that it when it lays out, you'll be able to see it. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's first go to the page that has the strip and block trapper. Let's not get lost. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to number our strips. All right. And we're going to number them so that we won't get lost. Now, again, my log cabin pattern that I'm using is going counterclockwise. You're going to see other ones that are going clockwise. You can do it either way, but I'm going counterclockwise. Okay, so I'm going to put the center in, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there's going to be 12 altogether. So let's count and make sure. And I think I did. I think I got it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. But it's 13 only because I counted the center block. The center block isn't counted on here. It's just called center. Okay. All right. So let's go do this. So what we want is we want to figure out how we want to lay this out. Now, I decided that I wanted to lay it out like this. Now, you can lay it out any other way, any way you want to. And if you're using the Stars and Stripes by Riley Blake, then this is what I did first. Okay, this is my 13 or 14 inch ruler. And then I have another one that is a 40, no, I take that back. It's a 24 inch ruler. But I don't need that one right now. I'm just going to, what I want to do is I want to cut these ends off. And I want to get those out of here. Now, a lot of people will use these for stuff, different things, and I'm going to use them, and I'll show you why. I'll show you what I use them for later. But let's just cut those off first. So you're going to do that for all of them, okay? Now, the next thing you want to do, if you're using these strips, it doesn't need to be ironed. If you're not using strips and you've had your fabric folded up a lot and it's been folded for a long time and you see creases, you need to iron your fabric. Very important, okay? Ironing is probably 90% of your project. So make sure that you iron your fabric and make sure that it is properly ironed. Now, these are, if you notice, let me see if I can get it closer here. All right. These are 2.5, 1, 2.5. We're going to leave the middle block at 2.5. We're going to leave it at 2.5. So what we want to do is we want to go over here. Now, you want to use your ruler. Your ruler is the one that's the most accurate. So kind of line it up on the bottom lines underneath and go in and line that up really well. And then make sure that you cut that little piece off and make sure that it is straight. Okay. Now we want to go to 2.5. So here's my halfway mark on my ruler. And I want to go to 2.5. I want to cut. Now I have 2. And if you look at our pattern, we need 4. I can separate them. Okay, so we need 4. Now see, now this right here needs to be ironed out. I'll do that in a minute. Now this is already at 2.5. So all I need to do now is just go 1, 2 and go over to 2 inches and cut those. And now I have 2 more 2.5-inch squares. And now you've got your middle part done already. Now that's the only ones that you are going to cut exactly the way that they need to be cut. The rest of them, we're just going to get them all at 2-inch strips. And then I'm going to show you when we're sewing how much easier it is to do it that way. So let me go in and get another piece of fabric. I'm going to get the number 1. Now you can do 2 of them if you want to at a time, but I tell you what, I don't like to do that because the more fabric you get in the pile, the less accurate it's going to be. All right, so now I'm going to cut this off. And again, we're going to use these for something, so don't throw them away. Okay. Now I want to go in and I want to go this way. I'm going to put this side here. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to put the left side on the line. And I'm going to get my big ruler and I'm going to come in. Now it's got to be straight and it's got to be right on the line. Going to get my ruler and I want to do exactly 2 inches. Okay. Now I'm also going to show you something else. Now this little guy here is a tool that you can put on here and it will suction on here. And now your ruler will stay like that. Let's see if I can do it. I don't typically use it because I do something else. So let me see if I can do it without. Nope, I don't like using it. But you might, if you're really scared of the rotary cutter. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you something. Is my strips kind of moved when I was doing it in a couple of places. Well, they're not too bad. It's still 2 inches. Okay, so back and I want to get another one and I'm going to show you a different way to do it, which I prefer. I have more control over it than I do with this thing. I'm going to do it, make sure that they're lined up correctly. It's going to be on 2. Now, and there's your next one. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to do this in stages. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to number our strips. And I'm going to go ahead and put them I'm going to put them in different piles, and I'm going to be using a scrapbook menu. It's kind of like a scrapbook sticker book, and I've got these little pieces here, and I'm just going to put them on my table, and I'll show them to you in a minute. I'm going to put them on my table, and I'm going to number them, and then I'm going to lay each one of the pieces of strips there so that I will know. Okay, so here's my pattern. And here's my little sheet. Now you've already downloaded this, so just make sure that you have everything ready how you want them to be. Now what I've done is I've laid all my patterns or all my different strips how I think I want to do them. Now again, you can do this any way you want to. You do not have to worry about doing them the way that I've got them, especially if you've decided that you didn't want a red, white, and blue pattern to go, and you wanted it to be more pastels, or you want it to be more Christmassy so that you can get something done for the Christmas holidays for this year coming up. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 strips, and then I have a middle. Okay. Now I'm not going to number my middle because I know what that is. So I'm going to go ahead and number my strips, and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 all the way down until I get to 12. Now, when I do that, I'm going to number them the way that it would be where you would be doing your work. So obviously we're going to start with our center, and then number 1 and number 2 are going to be light colors. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to do 3 and 4, and those are going to be dark colors. So as I pile them up, I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay. All right. So let me get my pen or my highlighter. I'll just use a highlighter. Not sure you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So I'm going to put a 1 here. And then I'm going to get my first strip, and I'm going to put it right there. So I know that that's going to be my number 1. All right, so then we're going to go ahead and do our number 2. We're going to put a 2 there. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You can actually just get a piece of paper and a pen and pin them however you want them. But that way then, but the most important thing is to know that you've got to have these things marked out the way that you want them so that you can have an idea of what your log cabins are going to be. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to start with my number 3, which is my dark. Actually, it's a lighter blue, but this is the one I want to use. Now, again, you use the one you want to. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a 3. I'm going to go ahead and number my 4 because that's going to be a dark as well. And I'm going to, if I can get it off my pad, put it right there. So that's my 3. And then here's my 4. And it's going to be this one. So that's my 4. And then I'm going to go back to the light, and I'm going to do 5 and 6. And that's going to be a light color. So that will be your 5. These things are so hard to... Okay. So that's going to be my 5, and it's going to be this blue. Or not blue, but this strip. And then I've got my 6. And it's going to be this one. Okay. Now, move these over a little bit. Because my table is not really big, I'm going to make these a little bit smaller so that I'll have enough room for all of my things. Now, again, you don't have to do it this way. I'm just doing it more this way because my sewing machine is over here. It's on the right-hand side, and I'll bring it up in just a minute. My sewing machine is over there, and all my strips are going to be right here, and that way I can keep everything accountable. Okay, so now we've got 6. Now we want to do 7 and 8, and 7 and 8 are dark. So I'll do that right there, and I'll put my dark here. So that's my 7. And then my 8 is another dark. So as you're figuring out what you want to use and how you're doing things, this will help guide you. Okay, so here's a 9, and the 9 is going to be a light. And then my 10 is going to be a light. Excuse me. This is going to be a light. And then I have 11 and 12. And those are going to be darks. There's 11. And then here's 12. And there we go. And I'll put these right here so that we know what we're doing. Okay, let's get started. All right, when I was cutting out my fabric the other day, I told everybody when they were cutting to make sure that they saved their little pieces, and I'm going to show you why. Now, when you are sewing on your sewing machine for the first time, or if it's been a while, or if maybe you just never knew this. In fact, I didn't know this until about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. When you're working with small pieces such as this, and you put it under your machine and you begin to sew, if you make it to where it is really, really close here, what'll happen sometimes is that this piece right here will go inside of your machine, and it will get caught with the needle, and it will just make a total mess out of your project. So if you start out with this little bunny here and just sew until you get to the end, and then you begin to sew here, it will continue on, and it won't get all jumbled up, and you won't have all these strings and everything. And it just is such a nice helper. All right, so what we're going to do first is we've got this 2.5-inch square, and we are going to add the very first piece, which is number 1, which is my number 1 is going to be this one. Okay, so I've got this long strip here. Now, if you want to cut these strips as you go, you can, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Now, we already took the end off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, and I'm going to attach it right here, just like that. But I'm not going to go all the way to the very end, because I can always cut that off. Okay, just like that. Now, if you need to, you can always use one of these clips, but I typically don't use them when I'm working with small projects like this, so I'll just use this. But what I'd like for you to do is make sure that when you start to do this, that your fabric is lined up with your other piece is lined up. Okay? Now, we've already started with our little bunny here, so what we're going to do is we're going to sew that to the end. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Just sew this to the end like that till you get to the end, and you're going to just kind of slow down a minute. And then you're going to put this piece under there. Oh, I got to put my glasses on. And then you're going to go ahead and sew. Now remember, you're sewing on a 1/4 inch seam. And when you do that, then you're going to want to make sure that you either use, now this little guy here, this little foot that I bought is for 1/4 inch, and it's perfect. It's got a little guide on it. But if you don't have one, now if your machine has these little ends, you know, it might show you 1/4 inch. But before all of these fancy things were made, when I first started sewing, my grandfather got a piece of tape for me, and he put it, and he put it for exactly. Now he didn't put it for 1/4 inch because at that time I wasn't quilting; I was making dresses and everything. So he put it for a 5/8 inch, and it was perfect. And you don't have to go out and buy all this stuff. So yeah, again, you do not have to be, you do not have to have all this fancy stuff to make a quilt. All right, so let's go ahead and sew this. I'm going to make sure that you just keep it kind of like that. And you go across. And then you just cut it off. I need to get my small scissors out for this. And then you're going to use this little bunny again, and you're going to put that right there so you won't forget it. All right, go in, and you can actually cut this without your rotary cutter and just cut it across like that. Like that. And then you're going to do the same thing down here. Now, when you do this, when you get closer to what you're doing for the longer pieces, you might want to use your rotary cutter. Okay. All right. So we're going to put this one back so we won't forget about it. I'm putting it back up there next to my number 1. And now I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to finger press it just for a minute, because I believe in ironing and pressing as you go. All right. But that kind of helps you with an idea. Now, you're going to notice that this is 2.5-inch square, and this was only a 2-inch square. So your strips are going to be a little smaller than your middle. The middle is going to be really bright, and in the middle it is going to specifically talk about the heart of the home. Okay, so I have to get some. All right, so now I've got my little mat here. I'm going to stick it right there so I won't forget. Got my little iron. Now you want to iron towards the dark. Okay. And we're just going to really press. We're not going to really go back and forth. There you go. There's your first piece. Nice and pressed. Okay. Now we're going to look at our fabric. I mean our pattern. We've done number 1, and now we want to do number 2. Okay. So it's laid out like this. And we want to get our second piece of fabric. Right sides together. And you want to go ahead and do this. Now I'm going to do something here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut that off like that. Now you might feel like you're wasting fabric, and you don't have to do that. And I don't usually typically do that when I'm doing it myself, but when I'm teaching you, I want to make sure that you understand all the ins and outs of making these small little pieces here. Okay, so we're going to line it up just like this. Now I have some overlap here, and I have some overlap here. Now you don't have to overlap that, but I find that when you overlap it a little bit, that your seams lay down a lot prettier. Okay, now make sure that you ironed towards the dark. Okay. And so I'm going to start with my little guy here. I'm going to start sewing. And I'm going slow. And my little, oh gosh, I forgot what this thing is called. Anyway, it's a a pointer. It helps you to, guide things. And I use this a lot so that I don't get my finger caught. And there you go. Now, again, we're going to press. We do have some red, so that's the darker. And we're going to press towards the dark. And there's your effect. So now I am on number 4. And it tells us that number 4 is no, we're on number 3, and it tells us that we're on a dark. So we got to go over to number 3. And we got to get number 3. Okay. And this is 1. This is 1. This is 2. And so 3 is going to go up here. Okay, so now we have to make sure now that we have it lined up correctly, because if we don't and we go over a little bit, then what's going to happen is we might end up with some fabric that is going to be too long or too short, and you'll cut it off and then your blocks won't match. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sew from here to here. I'm going to go ahead and, no, we're not. Yes, we are. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sew from here to here. Now I am going to cut this off a little bit down here. You can go ahead and cut these if you want to, but the reason I don't is because I don't want to have to do all that measuring when I'm cutting. Now make sure that your seams are pressed down and they're going in the correct way, that you iron them towards the dark. So that's where you want it to be. Okay. We're going to press towards the red. See better. All right. So now let's lay it this way, because you know that your number 1 piece is going to be down here at the bottom. Okay. So we have that. Now we're going to do number 4. And I'm going to go ahead and cut mine about this length. I'm going to set it up here, and I'm going to sew it. So far, so good. Liking it. Okay, so now we're going to do number 6. That's this one. Finally, it's working right. Okay, I'm going to take it back over to my thing, and I'm going to make sure that this is cut off straight. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so now we got to do this one here, which is number 8. So we're going to go this one here. No, wait. Let me make sure. All right. So I've got, this is the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Which one is 8? This is 8, another dark one. Line them up as much as you can. Make sure your thread is in your, not in your way. And I think I'm going to go over a little bit, up a little bit, maybe 1/4 inch, and then I'll cut it off. Because I think that's where I made the mistake a while ago, and I didn't go, I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Now again, make a stop. I'm going to make sure that you turn it over and do it this way as well, because let me show you what happens. See how I was talking about this in my other video about if your fabric is, if you don't iron it out correctly, like this one, I thought it was correct, but when I come in and I do like that, I've got almost 1/4 inch that I need to straighten out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my iron and I'm going to iron it this way as well. And that kind of straightens up my seams. Okay, so here we are so far. I think it's looking really well. Okay, so now I've got to line it up again, and I got to remember which one was my first one so I can have it done right, so I won't put them on the wrong side. So this was number 1, so that one is facing down. I just put on number 8, and now I'm going to do number 9, and it is a light color, and it's going to go right there. So that was number 9. Okay, now we want to do number 10. And we're going to put number 10 right here. Don't forget to put it right sides together. I almost didn't do the strip correctly. That would have been a mess. I'd have to pull that out. talking about the log cabin so much, you know how whenever you're on your phone and you're sitting there next to your phone, then all of a sudden you start getting all of these things on Facebook because you started talking about it. Well, it's happened on YouTube. I guess maybe I don't know, maybe I looked it up one time and now I'm getting all of these things on. I'm putting all these things in order so I don't get them mixed up. Because remember, we've got to do 3 more blocks. And we got to make sure that they're all right. They're all in the right order. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, so I've started picking up a bunch of different videos in my feed about log cabin. And there are a lot of people that go clockwise, and then there are some like me that goes counterclockwise. You don't have to, it doesn't really matter as long as you are aware of what you're doing. And I tell you, this really, really helps. I don't know where I got this idea. I don't know. I never really did this, and I had to make sure that I was always putting them in correctly. But numbering these things is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's great to have them numbered because now I can go and I say, okay, I got to do 11 dark. I'll pick it up and got it right here where I need it. And I'll start sewing. And you don't ever have to worry about losing your way. You know how I was talking about brain health the other day? Boy, I tell you what, this one really keeps your brain going because you got to really pay attention to what you're doing. Well, I can't seem to get it. When they start getting this long, maybe it is a good idea to maybe put that in there. Yeah, I like that. All right, so let's go ahead and like I said, as we are sewing, pick it up as you go. Don't pull it because you don't want to stretch the fabric. You just want to make sure that you're on the line correctly and you're not really stretching the fabric. You don't want to do that because then your blocks will be a mess. That was a good idea. Whew, I learned something today. When I was I went to Philadelphia this summer because my great grandbaby was going to be born, and my granddaughter had asked me if I would go in the room with her and her husband. She wanted me to be there. And I said, sure. Her mom, my daughter, didn't want to go. She was there for the first one, and she says, I'm not into that. Anyway, why am I telling you this? So I took a bunch of stuff with me because I knew it was going to be a long time doing, sitting in the hospital. And when I went in there, they made me take all of my stuff out of my sewing bag, and they made me give up my scissors. And I had a small pair of these gingers. Golly, there's like $40, and I had to give them up. I was so upset, and they wouldn't give them back to me. They said, once you give them up, you can't have them back. And I said, well, I cannot miss my grandbaby being born, so I guess I'm going to have to. Okay, so where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, first round. 5, 6, 7, 8, second round. 9, 10, 11, one more right here. And then we're done. Yay, for the first one. But see how that red, it really pops out? Oh, it's so pretty. All right, so let me do this. I'm going to get my little thing here. This is a really, really, really good idea. So if you don't have any of these, pin it. Because what it'll do, this strip is a little bit longer and it's pulling. So it's pulling my fabric. And when I get over here and start sewing, then I'm always like 1/8 of an inch. That can make a big difference. A big difference. Now, I'm not going to say anything else about my little helper here because I really like using them. You don't have to, but boy, I do. All right. Now, again, when you start, just pick it up and make sure it's lined up. Guide it. And there we go. And that was our last one for this one. It's all set. Of course, we have to iron it. Press it towards the dark. You know, when you quilt, it's different than when if you sew, because sewing is 5/8 inch and quilting is 1/4 of an inch. Here we go. This is our first log cabin. We have got it all ready and ready to go, set up so that we can go ahead and connect it to our next 3. Now, this is your homework for tonight or for the rest of this week. We need to make 3 more of these. Now, whenever I come back next week with our next video, I'll have my 3 done. I'm not going to do anything else except for do these 3, the 3 other ones, and I'm going to have them right here and ready to go. Once we've done that, then what we're going to do is I went and got some backing. So I'm going to use this as my backing. I think it's really pretty. This is Riley Blake also, but it is from her other line. I don't know if it's written on this or not. This one is not Stars and Stripes. This is, oh, I can't remember. And it's not on here. But anyway, but it is Riley Blake. She did, I went to the little quilt store that I was telling you about, and she's just as sweet as she can be. I bought my iron in there, and I got a couple of other things that I had not gotten, and I wanted to tell you about that also. So you need to get some quilt batting. So I bought a yard of it, and this is way more than what I need, but I needed some, so I went ahead and got it. And this is a really nice 100% cotton. You do not have to get the expensive kind. You can just get, and you know what? A lot of people, what they do is they get an old flannel blanket or whatever, and they use that as their batting. So you don't have to really go out and get any, but if you do want to, or if you want to order it from Amazon, you can do that. I never bought any from Amazon, but I'm sure maybe I'll have a link for you. I don't know. I'll see what I can do for you on that one. But anyway, so Walmart has it. And again, you can get something out of your stash. You can use some felt, look here. I wouldn't want to use this because I'm going to use it for something else, but this is flannel. And you can even use flannel for it. Okay. So, that's what we're going to need. So tonight or this week, while you're working on this, just make your other 3. You've got your first one done if you did it with me. If not, then you can watch the video and do the first one. And then next week I'll have all 3 of them done. And then what we'll do is we'll put the binding on. No, we'll put the quilting, we'll put the backing, and then we're going to quilt it. And once we've done that, then we're going to come back and put the binding on it. Now, why do I wanted to tell you the reason that I wanted mine to be 20 inches. And you do not have to, if yours comes out a little bit different, that's okay. I'll show you how to put a sleeve on the back of it so that you can hang it like on a curtain rod if you want to, or you can lay it on your table and let it be a table runner, like a square table runner, for your picnic table, whatever, if you want to do that for the 4th of July. I'm going to hang mine. My husband makes these for me, and I sell them for sell them for long quits. quilts, but I also had him do some, and this one is actually, I do it for my rugs, but I went in there and I looked and I said, oh, wait a minute, I've got one that's 20 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and make mine, so mine will hang from the hanger like that. Okay, everybody, I think that's all I wanted to tell you this week, and I'm so glad you came, and I'm so glad you joined me for this one. If you need anything, you can always send me an email, or you can put it in the comments. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, because I would love for you to subscribe. Also, if you're new here, go down to the bottom, and I've got my link down there for you to get the pattern. Okay, so this is the log pattern, and I talked about it in one of my other videos, and it's called the Stars and Stripes Log Cabin Hanging Americana Series #1. So this is first in a series of 4 or 5 things that we're going to do to get ready for the 4th of July. But again, if you are not in the United States and you're not really wanting to do red, white, and blue, you can pick any color. Just remember that as long as you have a darker shade here and then a lighter with a middle, you can do any color you want. Okay? All right, everybody, gotta go. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.